Feel honored to be here. Yeah, and thanks for the introduction. So, okay, we're good. Yeah, so I think Faith has done all the introductions I need to do, and it's nice being here and meeting everyone. And because of time, I may not be able to, go around to ask one or two questions like fun facts, where we're from, and all. But so yes, tonight I have one goal tonight, which is to talk on exploratory testing, functional testing, and regression testing. Um, yeah, so a little bit of background how I go into testing. It started in 2014. Yeah, that was in my first job was in Konga, and I was among the lucky ones who had no prior experience in software testing, but was privileged to get a job without any understanding of what software testing is. So for someone like me, I learned on the job. The journey started on the job. My first day of resumption, I was assigned a task to go test. You can imagine how, interesting that journey was for me. Yeah. But ever since then, I've tried to put in more, efforts, more commitment to learning, to growth. I was really passionate about, growing in that field. And yeah, we have today still finding bugs, still improving quality of applications and all. All right, so yes, okay, I need to share my screen. A minute, please. Okay. Sorry, I get this done. Okay. Please let me know when you can see my screen. Can anyone see my screen?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Oh, great. All right, thanks. So, yeah, so today's topic, exploratory testing, functional testing, regression testing, and I want to believe many of us on this call are either aspiring testers or beginners, people that are new into the testing field, even mid-level or experienced beats. Exploratory testing is one of, in fact, personally, when you ask me what type of testing do I engage in the most, I'll tell you is exploratory testing. And during the course of this webinar training, I'll explain more. So basically, exploratory testing, I see it from the point of approaching an application from an end user standpoint. Even though you're a software tester, look at it like someone, look at it like the user of the application. So don't approach it from the technical perspective or from the software tester's perspective or from an engineer's perspective. So when it comes to exploratory testing, you need to sit in the user's shoes. You need to think like the end users. So for example, if you are building an application for, say, professors in the universities, let's say, yeah, professors in the university, you need to put yourself in the shoes of a professor and test the application. Think like the professors. For example, are the text clear enough? Are they visible enough? Are the fonts bold enough for a 60-year-old lecturer or professors to be able to read your, things like that? So these are some of the things exploratory testing exposes you to, and it also helps you see beyond beyond what you are given in terms of requirements based on what you are testing. So when we are testing an application, we normally get requirements from the product team telling us what they want to build and what we should look out for in testing. But when it comes to exploratory testing, you need to go beyond what is given. And looking at functional testing simply is a type of testing too, and we have different types of functional testing. So this is where you start applying different testing techniques, different testing types to the same application. And finally, regression testing. On regression testing, this is one important testing that every tester needs to engage in before an application is being released to the market or to the end user, meaning we need to test the entire application. And again, why do we do regression testing more often? Is because for every time there's a code change, when I say code change, probably they've changed something in their software application code. It could be a new feature that has been implemented. It could be a bug fix. As long as something has changed in the code, it may result into breaking an existing feature that is already working. So it's very important that we test everything again, making sure that nothing breaks before we release to the market. Yes, so moving on. So let's look at exploratory testing benefit processes for teams. The sound raising hand. All right, so as you can see here, exploratory testing allows testers to explore the software without predefined scripts, providing flexible and creativity in identifying defects. Me personally, when I join an organization, the first thing I do is I explore their software. So I don't want anybody to walk me through the application. I don't need any documentation. I don't need any script. I just want to approach it as a customer or as an end user, explore the application, and while doing so, I'll be able to figure out some of the challenges the end user might be facing. For example, if I find it difficult navigating through the application, understanding the flow, how it works, that simply entails, and that simply means that this is what the end user will be experiencing, probably. So first thing first, I always do exploratory testing. Then next is comparing functional and exploratory testing. So functional testing focuses on validating that the software performs according to specification. So just like I mentioned, this is where we carry out different types of testing. It could be API test, it could be sanity, smoke, just checking the functionalities of the application. While exploratory testing seeks to uncover issues through user experience. So this is where you look beyond given scripts or requirements. This is where you think of edge cases. This is where you think outside of the box. This is where you sit in the end user's perspective. You see me emphasizing more on exploratory testing and trying to, dig deep on what it entails and why you should spend more time doing exploratory testing. Trust me, the best testers out there are not the ones that can use tools. The best testers are not the ones that can automate software. The best testers are the ones that can think outside of the box. Those that can, think of different edge cases, scenarios, different ways of, testing an application. Those that can break the system. And for you to be amongst this set of guys, it's all about mindset. You need to be able to think differently. You need to be able to think outside of the box. So what's advantages of adopting exploratory testing? So teams engaged in exploratory testing can benefit from faster feedback loops, enhanced collaboration, improve user satisfaction through real-time issues. So yes, by the time you go beyond giving script or documentations, you are likely to catch issues that are beyond what is already given in terms of documentation. So it can even be your acceptance criteria for those that are familiar with ticket testing. If you decide to pick a ticket and yes, you've covered this acceptance criteria, everything is fine, and you decide to dig deeper by exploring more, by coming up with different scenarios, then by doing so, you are likely to find issue quicker, and by doing so again, it helps fix all these issues on time before it gets to the market. So so let's look at effective practices for teams utilizing exploratory tests. So best practices for conducting exploratory tests. One says here, implement structured sessions, documented findings, and encouraging team collaboration can greatly enhance the effectiveness of exploratory testing. So here, what we're just saying is implement structured sessions, dedicate time for this, and don't just test without documenting. You should have like a notes in form of, it could be a Google Sheet or Google Doc, where you document all your findings or questions, the bugs you find, and again, it also encourages team collaboration, because while you're exploring, you might have questions, you might want to hear people's opinion on some of your findings, it also helps in enhancing collaboration. Then incorporating exploratory testing into agile teams. So there are different ways we could approach this, and this is one thing I always do with my team. Encouraging exploratory testing by integrating it in our agile team and processes. So what am I trying to say here? Agile teams can integrate exploratory and please, sorry, I'm a bit fast because of time, and if you have questions, you can note down your questions, drop it on the chats, and I'll pick it up from there. So yeah, so agile teams can integrate exploratory testing into their workflows to achieve quicker results and improve adaptability to changing requirements. So if we work in organizations that don't do exploratory testing, please, I would advise you encourage it. I would advise you introduce it to your team. And one thing I always do again, when I find myself in a space that I don't do a lot of exploratory testing, I take up that responsibility. I do the exploratory testing and share it with my team. So it's something we can all do as individuals. So next is collaborative exploratory testing techniques. So this is where you utilize peer testing or group sessions to foster knowledge sharing among team members. So yeah, this is where one or two or more people come together and explore the application, rub minds together, share ideas, see things in different perspectives. That's the collaborative exploratory testing techniques. So now we are on functional testing. So from here, you can see from the definition, it says functional testing is a type of black box testing that validates if the application can work according to business requirements. So key point here says it's based on user stories or acceptance criteria, verifies what the system does, not how, focuses on UI, API, database, security, and can be manual or automated. So example could be is verifying that clicking out to cart actually adds the selected product to cart. So as I mentioned earlier, there are different types of functional testing. And what functional testing does basically is to validate if the application works according to business requirements. And this usually comes in form of user stories, acceptance criteria, and whereby we execute different types of testing. So we have types of functional tests. For those of us that are new, for those of us that are about to, for those of us already in the system, I always encourage us, don't just be theoretical about this testing type. Implement them in your QA workflows in your various organizations. If you find yourself in a space where they don't practice or execute some of this testing, there's nothing wrong if you take up that responsibility to execute this testing type. And these are some of the things I did early days in my career. If I tell you that my first performance test, for those of us that are familiar with performance tests, I used a stopwatch to do my performance testing. And not knowing that there are tools that I could have used that would have helped me, achieve quicker results, more accurate results. But then I was using a stopwatch. I'll just check it. Yeah. So, but what am I trying to bring out here? Because I love to explore. I like to try new things. I love to research. I don't just end the researching. I always want to implement everything I learn, research on. And that was what led to me, executing my performance test with a stopwatch. There are tools like JMeter, Locust, BlazeMeter that can help us, run this test. So types of functional testing, we have smoke test. This checks the application is stable or not. So smoke test basically just focus on critical aspect of the application. So yes, critical aspect of the application, just see like the important features in the application that will enable day-to-day transaction on that. If it's an e-commerce site, if it's a banking site, that as long as these things are working, we are fine, we are making money, Sanity, on the other hand, verify specific functionality. So after minor changes or bug fixes. So example is fixing a broken sign-up button. So here you test everything around sign-up quickly and give your feedback. We also have integration testing. We have system testing, regression testing, user acceptance testing, localization, international testing, API testing. There's still more to this. Like I said, it's good when we put all this into practice. For those of us already in the system, in different organizations, it's very good when you apply this in your day-to-day activities, or probably, like I said, you can find a way to your QA plan or strategies. Again. So best practices for implementing functional testing strategy. It starts with effective exploratory testing techniques to enhance QA. And next is integrating functional testing into your development process. So like I said, it's good to integrate it. And for everyone on this call, as a tester, you need to love exploratory testing. You need to, embrace it, do it a lot. When you find yourself in any organization or you join a new company, the first thing you should do is to explore the applications. Ask for their test environment or go to their live environment and just explore it, carry out exploratory testing, document all your findings, And next is continuous regression testing is the best practices as well. And next is general strategy for improving software testing efficiency. We still talk more on regression testing, which is the next slide. So regression testing basically is testing existing functionality to ensure that recent changes or fixes haven't broken anything. So like those of us that are new to the system, or let me say, many of us, we use different applications, be it e-commerce app, banking app. One day you can wake up and you realize that the interface of your application has changed, or you just realize that they just added a new feature. You see a banner kind of. Trust me, before all these things get to you, they went through some level of testing. And I'm very sure one of the testing type that was, executed is regression testing, whereby we test existing functionalities to ensure that whatever we're introducing to our customer does not break an existing functionality, does not break an existing feature. So when I say functionality or feature, I'm referring to things like sign up, for an e-commerce site, like sign up, login, add to carts, payments, view products, search for products, making sure all these things are still working as expected. So key points here is rerun of previously passed test cases. So one thing you need to be conscious of is when you run a regression test now and everything looks good, if your developer decided to change a single line of code in your application, what they are just simply telling you that you need to go and run that regression test again, because we don't know if something else has broken or not. You get? So you have to rerun all your previously passed test cases. And this is why I think someone needs to build. Then it also helps maintain product stability. I think someone needs to mute. Okay. Then it's very crucial after there's a code merge or bug fixes or a new feature introduced or a code changes. And finally, often automated in CI/CD pipeline. So running regression tests manually can be very strenuous, can be very exhausting, can take a whole lot of time. And this is why we need to work smart. This is why when you grow in this field, when you get to a certain level, you need to start thinking of how to start using tools or learning tools like automation, to automate some of this manual execution. So example is a regression test. If I need to execute 100 test cases, why can't I just write an automated script that can automate at least 80% of my entire test case, So that makes the work faster and easier for me. So that's on regression testing. So finally, comparing exploratory testing, regression, testing methodology effectively. So exploratory testing is a flexible approach. Regression testing ensures stability. Functional testing verifies requirements. And then comparative analysis of testing types basically means understanding the differences between exploratory, functional, and regression, and also knowing when to apply these different testing types in your engineering build processes or your QA strategy and all. So I think, yeah, so this is the end of our slide.